I'm Lola.
And I'm Mamuna. Together, we have a combined 35 years of experience within the tech scene in North America and Europe.
We talk about the highs, the lows, the WTFs of navigating the technology industry and answer your questions about navigating tech careers.
This is Lost in Tech.
Hello, Mamuna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
We're still IRL.
We're still IRL. And I love what you just said something before we kicked this off. You said, you have so many thoughts.
Yes.
Share your thoughts.
Yes.
We want to know what your thoughts are.
Well, we were just talking about power dynamics in the workspace.
Yes. What are power dynamics? Break it down for our audience.
Actually, I think you had a better system for the three. Do you want to do the three?
I mean, okay, so I guess the thing I was saying is like, there's the politics of work.
Yes.
Right? So who has the ear of the leader?
Yeah.
Who has the most decision-making sway and how do things get done and decided? Mm-hmm. And it might be the person who makes the most money.
Yes.
That actually makes sense. But that may also be flawed because there should be a tension against that, right? And it's
Correct.
like now, next, later. It might be somebody who no one understands why the hell this person gets a say on every decision, but they do. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, well, I can accept that and be like, okay, how do I make sure that they're on my side? Mm-hmm. Or you can fight it and find yourself constantly like dealing with this political power rut where like you just don't have enough clout to get shit done. Yeah. You can't get the resources, you can't mobilize, you're just not that person.
Yeah. I was just thinking about at a place, there was this Enneagram test that told you how people
personality
worked.
test. I have lots of thoughts on those, by the way.
Yes. And I was grouped into one number and a lot of individuals were grouped into another number.
Yeah.
And that number was like the more prominent group.
Yeah.
And personally, what I found was that there was an assumption about how people are or how they would be able to rise and succeed. And because I was in a certain group, people would always say like, oh, well,
you're one of those.
You're one of those, like, whatever. But I found it interesting because ignoring the numbers, certain personality types that tend to be male, very vocal and opinionated, who are, combative is not the right word, but who are very comfortable doing the tussle of opinions very openly, not factual, just opinions, tend to thrive.
Yes.
And that's not my personality type. I can participate, but I'm not one to non-factually hop in and throw an opinion out there, whatever. Yeah. And I've always found it frustrating that facts don't matter sometimes. It is, in the setting, like it is truly how loudly someone could state their opinion as fact for them. Yeah. And everyone around them scurries to try to figure out how to make it work to make them happy. So
as somebody who was often psychological tests being actually really important in this discussion because I've always found them useful as a way to have a private conversation with yourself about how you want to show up and how you relate. And actually, I remember the first time I took a psychological test for work that was meaningful was in the context of a leadership team. And we were being coached as a leadership team to sell a company, right? We were all, we had this agreement. We said it's going to take 2 or 3 years, but we're going to start doing the work because that's how long it would take. And we got leadership coaching because none of us was going to go anywhere. We'd all signed up to say we ain't quitting unless, unless something very unfortunate happened. We were in this for the long run, but we had personality differences and challenging things. And you also couldn't tell the rest of the company that we're trying to go up for sale because it defeats what you're trying to do in the interim. Yeah. So we got the coaching as a way of connecting with each other, as a way of figuring out how to relate. It wasn't about, I'm going to plaster it on my LinkedIn profile and tell the world I'm a blah because it's not definitive. And I remember something that they said, and I think our coach says this as well, which is like, these things are like, they can be temporal.
Yes.
Right. You can have a moment. Or even like we talk about ambiversion now, as opposed to just having full-time extroverts or full-time introverts, which is like situational differences.
Yeah.
I have the ability to show up the way I need to show up when I need to show up.
Yeah.
That is not a permanent state. And my personality is not permanent. It's actually a great book by that name. And so these tests, they may draw out certain insights about the tendencies you might have.
Right.
When you use them as like a box full time for a whole bunch of people, it's a waste of everybody's space. And I agree with you that actually a lot of these companies now are using them as a defining badge. It's kind of like I'm a this. You're a Hufflepuff. Or you're a Ravenclaw.
Yes.
And so therefore you can never be anything other than this broad definition. It's like using horoscopes at work, which is just utter nonsense. It doesn't mean there's no foundation of something, but the extent to which you're going to take it, I'm like, come on.
I was talking to a friend yesterday who had to take a personality test for work. And I was like, oh, what are they going to use it for? She was like, I actually don't know. And I was like, okay, let's do this together. Because she was like, well, do you think? I'm like, listen. And I was like, you need to game the system here because you don't know what it's being used for. So I was like, think about the words and think about what you want to be perceived as, regardless of whatever you are.
Yeah.
Think about how you want to be, I don't know, grouped.
Yeah.
Right? Because coming from me, I was like, oh, well, that might have been where I was like then, but I can adapt. And so she's like, oh, I didn't actually think about that. So we got to the end of it. She was like, well, is this me? I'm like, this is what people are going to think you are. And that's safe.
So
that's safe.
That's, yeah, it's problematic.
Yeah, because
it's really problematic.
Like, why do we need to do that?
But okay, so but going back to my experience, I can see the intention.
Sure.
I think the challenge is weaponizing that against people, and it feeds back to the topic, which is like the politics of now suddenly I'm going to use that as a weapon. It's like, oh, well, me and the CEO are the same type.
Right.
You're not.
You're not.
So whatever I'm thinking, I must be following the same logical arc as the most important person.
Yeah.
And yours is probably going to come up with some flaws and, and I can do things like, I remember.
Say it.
I remember somebody we both know to be a bit of a Marmite person. For those who, Marmite is like this, I don't even know what you call it. Like in Australia, they call it Vegemite.
Vegemite, yeah.
It looks like the products left in your engine after the petrol is finished. Like
it's dried up.
You're not supposed to eat it, okay? So that tells you a little bit that I absolutely hate this stuff. But in the UK for a long time, they had these adverts that was very much like, you either love it or you hate it, but there's no middle ground.
Yeah.
So this person that I'm talking about is a Marmite person, incredibly successful. I think our experience of them has been on both sides, Marmite, good and bad. But I remember being in a meeting once and knowing they were going to pull a power move because they planned it. And someone's talking, and they were like, what's your Enneagram again?
Oh.
In front of the room.
Oh.
And the goal was to call into the room that don't listen to this person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it's like, and that's walking.
It's like chop you up in the knees. Like you're just kind of like, come on.
Where do you come back from? Because do you lie?
Right.
Or do you say, and then no?
You can't because
it's currency in this environment. And then everyone in that room has just decided to place you somewhere. And suddenly everything you're saying now just sounds like, no longer listening to you. And I think it's not always like that, but those kind of psychological evaluations are a power move that doesn't play well.
Yeah. If you were a founder, and you have a team, you're not going towards a sale, but you're looking at your leadership team and you want to better understand how to lead them so that they can better lead the company.
Yeah.
Would you approach getting a personality, like a psychological test.
No, I'd get coaching for everyone.
There you go.
Which is, and honestly, I think the more I think about this in my experience as well, I would make it mandatory. Now, I know that people are going to be like, therapy is not mandatory. I'm not talking about therapy. You do not join the New York Knicks and say, I don't really want to see the sports masseuse today. Like, that's not a choice you get to make. Actually, I'm pretty sure the coach doesn't even give you a choice against seeing the sports therapist.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to perform in my team, get your shit together.
Yeah.
And you show up and you use these tools. Yeah. And for me, I think, you know, when you start a company, like the people you put in certain roles will have the power to shape or like...
Or break.
Great words. The trajectory that you're about to go on. And you have to have a lot of trust because you can't do it all yourself. Yeah. One, because you don't know it all.
No.
And your bias is always going to be towards the discipline you came from, whether that was an engineering background, a product background, a marketing background, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to hire and appoint a bunch of people. They will have to make challenging decisions on your behalf, on the company's behalf. You want to align incentives. But when you're playing with that kind of accountability and responsibility, and let's say it's actually not even in the beginning, because in the beginning, you ain't making no money. No one cares.
No.
But say you make money.
Yes.
Say you get an amazing raise and someone's like, that's
Boom.
The next company and the whole world comes to your front door. That's when the power moves start. That's when the politics is full-time at your door.
Yeah.
At that point, you need to have a sense that everybody is operating in a healthy way for the benefit of the company.
Yeah.
You want to avoid empire builders, right? So I'm chasing the job title. We need to hire 1,000 people. 600 of them must report into me. No one else can have a bigger team than me. Those people are toxic and they will cost you money.
Common.
You also want to avoid people who don't know how to delegate because they are panicked.
Yes.
And they don't really know how to scale to the next level. So those people are going to constrain and their whole universe is going to look like chaos.
Yeah.
You want to avoid people who are just sneaky motherfuckers, right? Like, I'm sorry, language, but like they're just in your meeting saying yes and going out and doing some... And them having coaching doesn't necessarily mean that you get to see what happens in their coaching sessions or whatever, but their response to doing grown-up work for the contribution to the company.
Yep.
That tells you a lot.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think at that level, at like the founder level or CEO level or whatever it is, you have to be plugged in. So you have to speak to people outside of your direct leadership team to understand what is the impact of my leadership team on the company.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be pretty honest with you.
Yeah.
As to what's happening. Oh, this person is hoarding information and they never want to share, or they only trust certain people, or they have a preference for this Enneagram or whatever it is, right? Yeah. I think you could tell I'm hurt by Enneagrams.
Don't talk to Mamuna about Enneagrams. We're just, avoid.
But I think that, it's important to actually know the person.
Yes.
As much of the person as they've brought in, not the whole person, as much of the person they've brought into work. So you understand how to line up those incentives to match whatever their motivations are.
Yeah.
But power moves are real. Power moves are real. Empire building is very real.
Listen, I heard a story, and I'm going to ask a question at the end of the story, but it's interesting. So skip one-to-ones are like a very slept-on power play.
Yes.
I have used them my entire career. Yes. I'm going to use them to the day I die.
Yes.
I'm going to encourage them when I am the CEO of my own shop and doing my own thing. But essentially, instead of having a one-to-one with just your boss, every now and then you have a one-to-one with the people above your boss. Right? Now, if your boss is against that, that's a problem.
Yes.
If your boss supports it, amazing. But know that when you enter that room in that meeting, you better have your own agenda because you're not there supposed to be listening.
Right.
You either have questions or stories or work to demo. Like you're going to show up and you're going to represent yourself well to that layer above. But I heard this horror story.
Oh, no.
Of, there are environments where like these roles are weaponized against each other. And a person had a skip and shared some concerns about their manager in their skip. The person they did the skip with did maybe the right thing, which is like, I believe some serious issues have been raised and went to talk to their direct and said, hey, the people in your org are concerned and these are the concerns they have raised with me. That person was like, oh, really? Bet. Turned into a physical fight. I was like, at work? At work. I was like, wow. I don't even know what the topics were, but I'm like,
it can't be that bad. Don't put your hands on people.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I mean, I don't know enough context as to whether alcohol was involved or what the context was, but I think it's interesting because that is like the politics of that situation is you are using your skip to represent something to your boss's boss or people above your boss. You could take that as a feedback moment to say, I'm raising concerns.
Right.
That is a power move.
Yeah.
It has implications. Use it wisely. Because the right thing to do would be to say, okay, well, I'm going to address these concerns. You know, if I'm slacking somewhere, my team is concerned and they raise it with my boss.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay in the dark about that. I do need to be told about what the issues are. But if you're doing it maliciously, if you're trying to do sneaky-ish and you use that context for it, it may blow back on you. And someone
I'm not going to justify putting hands on anybody. But I think it's interesting because one of my measures of trust in an organization is whether people feel comfortable giving me directly feedback.
Yeah. Okay.
And if they cannot give me feedback, then something's missing.
See, I used to think that.
Tell me.
I think there comes a point where your job title gets in the way. No matter how much they trust you, they just would never feel comfortable saying certain things to you directly.
Like what? Give me an example of something.
I think about this myself. Let's say you've made a hiring decision and they're really struggling with the hiring decision that you made.
Okay.
And it could be interpersonal or it could just be professional. They're probably not just going to come to you and be like, what did you do? Right? They're probably just going to be like, okay, well, you must know what you're doing. But now already there's a gap.
Yeah.
And that gap is going to persist because as this person is messing up, do they feel like they can be the person to come and say,
hey,
have a look at your person or not? And I also think like in certain roles is, would you take a petty issue to the senior person? Would you be like, so-and-so keeps eating my lunch from the fridge, man. I can't handle it. Or do you feel like it always has to be serious enough to warrant your attention? And once you're making that kind of judgment call, there's things you don't hear. And obviously those are like silly examples. But I think there comes a point where
it just doesn't reach you.
You enter a level of seniority where these things do not come your way. Yeah. But I do think what you said earlier on, where you have to have a network of people who will tell you the truth and who will keep you plugged in and who you can rely on to provide you the signals from the room and all of that, you know.
Which I feel I've always had as I've grown up in orgs. But that's very strategic in my world. Like I've always tried to be mindful of developing relationships across an organization and building trust to get that heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I remember in a company, one of my leaders was like, you know, do you ever get feedback? And I'm like, yeah. Like, do you ever hear anything about me? I was like, well, maybe. Yeah, you know, sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, what do you hear? And I'm like, oh, you know, just, you know, different things. And what was interesting was that we developed this very candid conversation of like, here's what people think of you, like generally.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, he was like, oh, okay, like how can I incorporate this into how I think and how I think? So I appreciate the fact that they were open to the feedback, but it was interesting because none of it was actually reaching them. Yeah. But that's correct. Like as you do, like I
think it becomes hard for people. And I don't know, I think feedback in itself is political.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember a recent situation at work where there was a tension going on externally and internally. And there was a sense that the leadership weren't really grasping the issue, right? And that is, I think that's a recurring theme usually where like, it's like, you're so unplugged, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
And so I did my usual fire starter thing and I shared something.
I know. Oh my
Listen, do you know what? Fires sometimes are really good And fire starting is a powerful way of pointing at an issue. It's kind of like strategically burning some wood so that it doesn't turn into an out of control wildfire. That's what I do, right? I'm just managing. What I did, though, I didn't start the fire. I brought the fire to people's attention in a public channel. So part of it was not blaming or calling anyone out, but it was, hey, is this accurate? Is
in
this
a public
true?
Channel?
In a public channel, because the goal was,
visibility.
I need people to tell me, help us understand what's going on here. What has created this scenario?
Who was it? Who was it?
No one in the company.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took something that was external from somebody who did not work in the company.
Okay.
And I used it to catalyze a discussion that say, hey, I feel like this is representative of a thing that's going on, which we had not been talking about. So everyone was watching, and no one was talking about. So I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And it led to a very long thread of discussions, some of which I think were really good, valid, but very much around feelings. So this was also really interesting. There were facts and there were a lot of feelings. Mm-hmm. However, half the facts that I got from that discussion were sent to me by a DM. And that tells you that people don't feel comfortable putting something into a public channel.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and this isn't unique to this job.
Yeah.
This has happened in every company I have ever worked in. In fact, this is the first time it's happened in 3 years in this job versus like other places where that's a weekly occurrence.
Says Lola, your natural fire starter here.
Because part of what I maybe habitually do is I feel like difficult conversations
should be had.
You may come to a place where it was really uncomfortable. It was really painful. I would rather we didn't go into a subject, but unless you have the difficult conversation, you can't mitigate. You can't put risk mitigations in place. You can't make plans for the worst case scenario, and you can't save things before they go too bad. So I consider it to be part of my superpower that I have the ability to source fires and bring them in. I don't create them out of nothing. That's the only. This is kind of important. But I do think that this is part of like playing the politics. Is I could see something was up. And so could other people, but they did not have the political power to be the first to declare it a problem. Yeah. So I used mine to start the conversation. And it provided me with evidence that people didn't feel comfortable sharing in public, but was very credible. And that meant that we were able to formulate a plan. Okay. And no one's angry with the plan. Yeah. No one got sacked. Yeah. No one's like worse off. In fact, everybody's in a much better place because of it. And that to me is like leveraging that politics is you have the power to ask a question that someone else may be dismissed for or ignored. You also have the opportunity to bring the answers. So like, whilst I didn't out the people in my DMs, I could copy paste. Yeah. Be like, well, so this paragraph is what has just been shared with me privately that couldn't be put into the public thread. And I don't put it in the public thread because they didn't want it in there, but I will share it in like, as we talk about this problem, here is how people feel. And it was very much a facts and feelings discussion. And the feelings part was also where I think, like a lot of tech companies, we have a blind spot. Yeah. You may be able to answer all of my questions with facts. Doesn't mean I'm going to walk away from here with confidence and trust. Yeah. Or the ability to execute with like high motivation because I just, that's not enough. Yeah. So, I think politics can work in your favor in that sense as well. It's like just about knowing how much power you have, knowing how to use it, knowing how to use it for good. Yeah. And then hopefully being part of an environment where it isn't being weaponized negatively. And you see the conversations in a lot of shows around like power plays and coups and who gets the promo. Yeah. And so one of the things I've always hated about very large companies is that power play stuff. So
yeah, you have to be very aware when you come into a company of where the power shifts are, who holds it, and then how you want to play in it or how you have to.
What would be your advice for somebody who maybe feels they have no power, but maybe looks like they have power?
Interesting.
Because we've had some of these conversations before around like what level of leadership you're actually at.
I think honestly it depends on the size of the company. But I think that everyone has some power. Everyone has some power, regardless of how you may actually feel. And I think part of your audit is what type of power do you have and how much do you have of it?
Yeah.
And once you have a good sense of whether that's, I can get the ear of my team, I can persuade certain individuals, I have connections across, like whatever your thing is, I would understand how that can benefit you and how that can benefit the company. And then as you are, I think one of the smart things I always encourage people to do, especially, is like you want to have advocates for when you're not in the room. So whether that comes to how you think or promotions or whatever, right? You want to be chatty about your successes, your team's successes, whatever it is, because if they're in a room where they're calibrating or whatever, you then have multiple people who could tell your story on your behalf. That to me is power. Like there's power 100%. In that, right?
Yeah.
And so you may not feel like you can walk up to the CEO and say, hey, you're making a bad decision, right? Yeah. But you can potentially be powerful enough to, I don't want to use the word manipulate, but change trajectory of your team or you as an individual directly, right? So I always think of power centers being me as an individual, me and my team, me and this function.
Yeah.
And then there's, you as your leadership team, and then there's a full company. And I think that you kind of have to figure out, okay, where do I exist in this? Yeah. And there's even you could be like a thought leader, right? You may not have a ton of power in the company, but you may
drive sentiment. I was just going to make exactly that point, because I think the first point of power you always have is your voice.
Yes.
And you have the ability to use your voice in a number of different ways. And sometimes the biggest mistake I think too many of us make, if you're not in a leadership role or you feel that you don't have power, is actually to underestimate the power of just saying a thing and talking to another person or a group of people about a thing.
Yeah.
And that can go, it can go in many ways. Like if you're reckless with it, you could end up doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But if you're always aware that like you speaking is your first point and probably always the point of power you hold at any level, is you can say anything you like to anyone you like.
Yep.
That is the ultimate political power in a company.
Step one.
What do you say and whom to?
Yes.
And I think the second part of that you said is so key about the people who advocate for you outside the room. As I said, the skip one-to-ones.
Yeah.
When we did the leadership development program in the previous employer, we had these like declared roles that you had to find. So if you were on the program, you had your manager, you had a sponsor, and you had a mentor. And there were 3 different people. Because it's your manager's job to manage you.
Yeah.
So they couldn't be your sponsor. There might be one of your mentors. You can have many mentors. A mentor would be somebody that you can go to for advice and you can always speak to and whatever. A sponsor is somebody who helps you move up. A sponsor is somebody who might be your skip. They might be a different person in your organization. They're not even in your reporting line. But they're somebody you can speak to, advocate, show your work to. And then when you are not in the room, them plus your manager and your manager's manager, now you have a room full of people who are advocating on your behalf or mentioning your outputs or talking about stuff. They also can be a safe space to be like, you know what, my reporting line doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go outside to this person who I do trust to share something, and they might find a different way to address it. But I think it's useful to always know that you can build any one of those relationships.
Yes.
And I think begrudgingly giving this back to the get back in the office peoples, when you are younger in your career, it's much easier to build those like senior relationships outside of your reporting line. When you bump into someone for a coffee, or you're catching up on a Friday at the end of the working day, or you're seeing them on the couch, like those casual relationships are easier to build in a in a kind of IRL environment, but they're not impossible remotely.
Yeah, you have to be more conscious of it.
Just ask. Say, I'd love to catch up sometimes. Yeah. Offer someone 15 minutes instead of half an hour. You don't need an hour of their time. Nope. You just say, love to 15. Say hi.
Yeah.
Just see how it goes.
Virtual coffee.
Virtual coffees. So, power is an interesting one. But I'd love to hear more from our audience on like power moves, politics, their perception of power in the tech world. There could be some interesting nuggets we hear back from that.
Yes, okay.
We've made this show for you, and we want to hear your stories. We have our combined 35 years experience in tech. We have an incredible bank of experts to call on. We are your safe space. So send us your tech challenges and we'll help you create some draft decisions through some real talk.
You've been listening to me, Mamuna and Lola.
And me, Lola Pearson.
Edited and produced by me, Michael Bussa, with theme music by 031 Mash.
Email us at help@lostintechpodcast.com or DM us at lostintechpod.